Humans have been around for a long time, and in that time, many people have died, making it highly likely that someone, if not many others, has died in the spot you're currently in. Old buildings or plots of land are known to embody such experiences, from bumps in the night to ghostly apparitions. Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House, published in 1959, is one of her most renowned works, and it has been adapted for the screen several times. It is worth noting that the story is not based on a single true story but inspired by various encounters, experiences, and hearsay. The book draws inspiration from a group of 19th-century psychic researchers who studied supernatural activities by moving into a haunted house, as well as many real locations, such as the Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany and the Winchester Mystery House in California, and a collection of other odd occurrences. One of the houses where the psychics lived and studied was the Borley Rectory, known as the most haunted house, and made notorious by the famed psychic researcher, Harry Price. Harry Price and Louis Mayerling both occupied the residence and would publish separate books contradicting one another's experiences. Price's book, The Most Haunted House in England, detailed his alleged encounters at Borley Rectory, where he lived for a year to study the supernatural elements. He claimed to have had numerous experiences with poltergeists during this time. Mayerling's book, We Faked the Ghosts at Borley Rectory, challenged the authenticity of Price's experiences. Despite Mayerling's book calling out Price's, there was one incident he could not discount. The incident took place during Easter of 1935. Mayerling and a handful of people attended a séance at Borley, where they all sat in silence. After the kitchen bells clambered together unprovoked, one of the other attendees jumped up, and there was a lightning strike of silver-blue light, which appeared to implode from all walls and the ceiling of the cellars. Every member of the séance was struck with an instant paralysis that lasted about 5 seconds. Mayerling wrote that he couldn't explain that occurrence and that the rest of the hauntings were, without exception, the most successful hoax of the age. The Ballechin House, owned by Major Robert Stewart, who had become a believer in reincarnation and transmigration after his military service in India, was the second case of 19th-century psychic researchers believed to have inspired Jackson's novel. It was said that Stewart believed he would be reincarnated as a dog in his next life, and so he bought many dogs who lived on the estate. Stewart died in 1876 and his dogs and estate were inherited by his nephew, John Skinner, who found his uncle's idea of returning in the form of a dog to be disconcerting and shot all of the dogs. Because of this massacre, it was thought that Robert Stewart, disembodied, would haunt the house forever. Several texts might have inspired Jackson, including An Adventure by Charlotte and Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain. In it, the women claimed they had a supernatural encounter while walking in the gardens near the Petit Trianon in the Palace of Versailles, France. They recalled a sudden feeling of unnatural oppression and dreariness, followed by the appearance of phantom-like figures, including Marie Antoinette. The incident led them to believe they experienced some sort of time slip. Jackson was also inspired by the writings of supernatural expert Nander Fodor, who believed that haunted houses were typically homes filled with the emotional trauma of its past residents, and ghosts were external manifestations of the internal subconscious mind. The Jennings Music Building at Bennington College in Vermont, where Jackson's husband taught, was notoriously believed to be haunted and might have been another source of inspiration for Jackson's work. Shirley Jackson may have also been inspired by the Edward H. Everett Mansion near Old Bennington in Vermont, where the ghostly presence of Everett's first wife roams the hallways. Jackson's personal struggles with depression, loneliness, and alienation also inspired the novel. Before reaching its popularity and success on Netflix, The Haunting of Hill House was adapted for the screen a number of times. The Netflix series is said to be based very little on the actual story of the novel. Show creator Mike Flanagan stated that the show is way more of a riff than an adaptation, and that it was more to break down the book and pull out the characters, themes, and individual moments and pieces of prose that had stuck with him and try to rearrange it. As Flanagan notes, there are clear themes borrowed from Shirley Jackson's novel in the show, with a few homages sprinkled in, but the actual story is altered quite a bit. In Jackson's novel, the reader follows a group of strangers who accept an invitation to investigate an alleged haunted house as part of an experiment to prove the supernatural is real. In Flanagan's show, the viewer follows a family who experienced trauma in a home as they lived there. While a lot was altered, some of the original characters' essence and traits made the transition from book to screen. For example, in the novel, Hugh Crane was the man who actually built the Hill House in the late 19th century, but in the show, he purchased the house and moved his family in while renovating it. Many of the other characters went from strangers of different walks of life to siblings. In the novel, Theo is part of the group investigating the house with Dr. Montague, the man who brought the group together in hopes of proving the existence of the supernatural. Theo is also an artist who experiences extrasensory perception, ESP. In the show, she is one of the 5 Crane children who could sense monsters as a child and becomes a psychologist. Also on the show, Luke and Eleanor, aka Nell, are twins who saw ghosts as children. As an adult, Luke is a recovering drug addict, while Nell is haunted by the death of her husband, whom she felt was killed by the bent-neck lady, a ghost who had been haunting her since childhood. In the book, Luke is the heir to Hill House and is one of the volunteers who shows up for Dr. Montague's investigation. As for Nell, she recently lost her mother after spending over a decade caring for her, just before joining the other strangers at Hill House. Nell is seen as a central focus in both the show and novel and seems to have the strongest connection with the house. The other 2 siblings, Shirley and Stephen, only exist in the show and are not in the book. It is likely that the addition of the character Shirley is a nod to author Shirley Jackson herself. It's also noted that Stephen is seen reading one of Jackson's books, The Lottery, as a child. Shirley is a funeral home director, and Stephen is an author who is writing the success of his novel of the same name, The Haunting of Hill House, which accounts his childhood haunting experiences in the Crane family's Hill House home. His expose creates a strain between the siblings as they're left feeling exploited by the publication. Apart from Dr. Montague making an appearance as a therapist in one episode, it's also said that Stephen is a nod to Dr. Montague in terms of character. The show is narrated by Stephen, who narrates a passage from the opening paragraph of Jackson's actual novel. Other characters from the novel that also made it to the show are the Dudleys, who remain faithful in their role from the book as the caretakers of the home. While the show has mostly altered the story, there are subtle nods likely recognizable to fans of the book. Other small moments and themes from the books include cold spots felt throughout the house, pounding sounds coming from the walls, and the raining stones. The Cup of Stars is another crossover from text to screen. In the book, Eleanor, or Nell, encounters a girl who refuses to drink out of anything but her cup of stars. In the show, she sees a cup of stars during a tea party, to which Mrs. Dudley tells her to insist on her own cup of stars, ultimately expressing the same sentiment Eleanor had. While watching the girl in the novel insist on your cup of stars, once they've trapped you into being like everyone else, you'll never see your cup of stars again. In the show, Olivia, Mrs. Crane, tells Luke, her son, of a cottage she saw while on a drive with her grandmother. She then fantasizes about the life she would have had there. This is taken directly from Eleanor's experience in the book. Olivia also says to Luke that she almost named him Robin, a nod to part of Eleanor's fantasy of having a Robin. In one of the scenes, Theo feels a non-human hand grab her hand, which also happened to Eleanor in the novel. A line from Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, Journey's End in Lover's Meeting, is repeated throughout the novel and makes a small appearance in the show on the lid of a watch. And finally, 2 prominent deaths in the novel also make their way into the show as well. But don't worry. We'll spare you the spoilers. Okay, fine. Just one hint. It involves the staircase. There are surely countless other similarities, but alas, the show is only partly inspired by the book. Whether fact or fiction, all stories evolve in one way or another over the course of time, sometimes inadvertently, other times intentionally. With The Haunting of Hill House, it seems the various stories that derived from it have gone through a number of filters to become The Haunting of Hill House we know today. Even still, it hits all the right scary spots.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it. To stay updated with our latest content, please make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. We post 2 to 3 videos every week, so you won't want to miss out. If you have any suggestions or feedback, please let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear from you and improve our content based on your feedback. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It helps us a lot and encourages us to keep creating more videos for you. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you for watching the story. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. If you're feeling brave enough, leave a comment and let us know which story was the most frightening for you. And if you have any horror stories of your own that you'd like to share, we'd love to hear them.